I started noticing like a feeling of being disconnected when I was probably 18 or 19. I moved out of Detroit and to New York when I just turned 18. I was like 2 weeks into being 18. And I was so excited. It was all I wanted to do. I was going to NYU. I was studying musical theater. I was living in this beautiful like melting pot cultural city and seeing, Broadway shows each night. And it was wonderful. And I just felt like if I wrote my life down on paper, I had so many opportunities, so much privilege, so much access to happiness, and yet my feelings were not that. As an 18-year-old living on her own in New York City, I should be like, yes, like it should be so exciting, but it wasn't. I felt like I was sort of followed by this weird dark cloud that just didn't allow me to see all the happiness around me. And I was lucky that I felt in my bones that wasn't, I hate to use the word should, but should be feeling, or how I could be feeling, I guess. And I was lucky enough that my mom had sat me down and had a conversation with me, and she said, hey, just a quick heads up, I experience these feelings sometimes, your grandmother experienced these feelings sometimes. She's a nurse, and so she recognized that there could be a hereditary component to a serotonin imbalance, and she said, if you start to feel any of these things, just know there are a variety of ways that you can reach out to people or try to fix it, and you don't sort of have to live like that. It's such a hard thing to talk about. Like I don't like that there's any sort of stigma to it, but I get it. It's a weird thing to talk about because it's not an affliction that you can see. It's like a hard thing to, I guess, diagnose and also acknowledge, and a lot of families or support systems or anyone in your life, they don't know how to talk about it, especially if they aren't themselves feeling it. I think I had an upper hand because my mom had explained it to me in a very medical way early on, and I was like, oh, okay. It sort of armed me with the information about what could happen, and maybe it never will, but if it did, there's access to help. I knew that there were all of these ways, like talking to a friend, finding a therapist, talking to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and just knowing that changed everything for me. Even if you're not experiencing any mental health issues, I would hope that you would walk through life being open and ready to be a shoulder if someone needs you, because the reality is we're not all born the same. Some of us are born with a ton of confidence, and then some are born really timid, and I just feel like maybe this is just my maternal instincts talking, but I just don't want anyone to feel like they don't have a support system. So if we collectively as a society, like self-care, this whole idea should also include caring about each other. It has to obviously be on the person to identify the feeling and say, I need help. But then I think it has to be on the people around them that love them to say, okay, let me see if I can support you, even if that's just checking in once in a while.